lives here, you know, little information. I printed extra bios in case somebody was able to see them on the website. And I can make more copies if we run out. But, we have Josh Caldwell. He's new, running. Del McLaren, she has been on council and planning and zoning before. She's running. Patrick Steps currently on, and Tanya Ratcliffe is currently on and rerunning. So, I know you didn't want to go first. You want to stand up and say a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
Patrick, tell me.
Hi, I'm Patrick Stepp. I've been in Combine for, my daughter is 13, so 12 years. We moved here when my daughter was 1. My son started kindergarten here, and he's graduating this year. So that's, I know, right? Yeah, he's graduating this year. He's headed off to Texas A&M. We're pretty excited about that. I personally am a veteran. I was in the Army. I served for 8 years. I was in the Signal Corps. It was fun, an exciting way to start life. And then when I got out, I went to SMU, and studied geophysics, seismology, and that sort of thing, theoretical seismology, geology, and graduated there and stayed there and did my grad work there as well. And then, and me and my wife, when my son started kindergarten, we moved to Combine. So. She's an attorney, for those of you guys don't know. We live on River Bend Estates, that little housing community there by the power station, the substation. We like it. We've been here. We kind of fall in love with the community.
Okay.
Me in a nutshell.
Tanya or Josh, you want to go next?
Sure, have to. I'm Tanya Ratcliffe. I've lived here a little over 22 years, and you can read from my bio what degrees I have, but the main thing I want you to know about me is that I love this community, and I like being a part of this community, and I like serving on the city council, and I am currently on the council. And I'd like to be on the council again because I love this community and I want it to stay as much like it is as we possibly can. And those of you who live on the streets where you get those trucks, I live on 1389 too. I get just as many as you do, so I understand that part of the noise issues around here. But I just want you to know that I care about this city, and that's why I have been volunteering for several years to be a part of the council, and I'd like to continue that. Thank you.
Bill or Josh?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, you're already moving.
All right. A little shy in front of crowds, but I'm Josh Caldwell. We've lived in Combine for 8 years, lived in Bent Tree Estates. I grew up a little different path. I didn't have college, had kids when I was younger, so I had to go straight to work. So I've been in the towing industry for 30-something years. I've owned our tow company for 10 years up until last year. We sold it to the largest tow company in the nation. Now I'm the regional director for North Texas on that division. Been living in Kaufman County 30 years of my life and 8 years in Combine. So just seeing as the city's growing, I just want to be a part of what's going on and decision making and have the best interest of the citizens. And as I'm just one up here, at least my voice can be heard through y'all as well, and have a say in what goes on in our city. Like Tony said, I like to keep Combine the roots of what it is, small town feel. That's why we moved out here. We love it. It's peaceful, it's quiet. We like to keep it that way. We can't stop development, but we can control it the best we can. And that's putting restrictions on them. And as long as they meet the guidelines, we can't stop it. But as long as we are fair about the guidelines and we all agree, I think we can keep Combine. And that's what we'd like to do. Hopefully y'all vote for me, and I'll be here for any questions that y'all have. Thank you.
Well, I'm Dell McLaren, and as some of you, my husband and I have lived out here for 28 years. So it's home. You know, we don't plan on moving, we don't plan on selling. One of the things that when I think about Combine, you know, I think about my neighbors. I think about the people I've met here, the people that want the same things that I want for this town. And I think that is controlled development, because we have to have development, because, you know, we can't just say no because we don't like things. Legally, we have to follow certain rules. So I think that what, you know, Josh said is that we can have some control over that. We can do that by our ordinances. And, you know, we need to continue to look at those, and we need to look to the future. We need to see what else is out there that might be wanting to come this way. And we need to be aware of it and start researching it and start planning for it. Things that we don't want here. So that's, you know, that's why I want to do it. I like to research. You know, I like being on the city council. I like having a say. I think it's important that women have a say on this council as well as men. So that's why I'm running. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, feel free to mingle and have questions, or no formal,
I have a question. What can we do to get Combine's own zip code?
no, we've tried.
I get mail, stick a bill, people call on the phone, stick a bill. Is there any way we can get our own zip code?
We've tried, we've gone to legislature, I can't remember who.
Do you have to be a certain size or something?
No, and it used to have to do with where post offices were, and of course, there used to be one, I think here even, and then the closest one was in Seagoville, and now they've moved that one even further than Dallas, but still Seagoville. And all I'm ever told is, yes, you're not the only city that's in different counties and that shares zip codes with other people. We've talked to Lance Gooden, we've talked to his second in command or whatever, you know, asking what we can do, and we never get a clear answer, and nobody ever seems to want to take it on.
So do you have to have a post office here to have a zip?
I'm not positive because it's changed, the law's changed, but I think probably, I don't think we could get our own. I mean, because we thought about, well, can we at least, you know, with Crandall, but again, we'd still be sharing zip code, but I think so. And we're taking away both offices, so.
Yeah, Randall's got their own problems up there, I don't think we can.
Right.
I'm just curious if Crandall's gonna be building a new post office with all this growth.
I don't know.
I mean, we office up by the one at Seagoville, so, yeah, it's very odd that I live down here and my mail comes out of there, and I tell you, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It is horrible up there, you just have no clue what we go through up there just with our business, but I was just curious if there was some way we could
The thing to remember about that is the local governments have very, very little control of that. That's a federal government issue.
And they're in trouble anyway. So I'm talking about the post office is in trouble, you know, so it's uncertain where that's gonna
I
all
was
go.
saying the post office didn't have any money, they could
Right.
build
Yeah.
it if they wanted to.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I would like it, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Can I ask a question of each one of y'all, and y'all will just answer? All right, so we live on 3039. We think, we see our pit back out of our window. It's not in right behind, but how would each one of y'all have helped for that not to happen? How did
I didn't hear the question, you said what in the back?
The pit.
Okay.
So how do we, not, I mean, it's done behind us, but what would you do to make sure this never happens again in the city of Conway to the residents?
I mean, I'll start. I mean, Dell and I both had a workshop that we formed and we went to, and we came up with all these different regulations and stuff the builder would have to go through in order to build, and that's anything from like tree ordinances, can't cut down certain trees and that sort of thing, make it more expensive for developers to build here, right? Make them build sidewalks, make them build other resources that, as a community that we would want, right? Because right now, you build a housing development, they don't have sidewalks, they really don't want to build their streets, we want to increase the width of the streets, and say, okay, from now on, we're not going to have these 20-foot wide streets anymore, now we want 30 feet, and, just to make it a little bit less attractive for them to come build here when there's a lot of rules, right? Because they want to build in places where there's no rules and it's the Wild West, and that's where developers are going to go. So the more rules and regulations we put in place to make it less attractive for them to build here, I mean, that's, to me, that's the way you do it. And that way you can plan, you plan better. And I mean, as a council, we've done pretty well. Somehow that slipped through, and we didn't stop that and nip that in the bud when we had the chance. But I think that's the way that we've gone about doing.
They're still digging, aren't they?
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't stop something you don't know about. And that pit was down a private road back behind houses, not visible from driving down the street.
But we came up here,
We
a lot of it came up.
And you could see it from the road. You could see it from the road. So
Yeah.
it's different.
We came up immediately when they started digging, because we didn't know what was going on. So we came, but I think whoever said, they thought it was development.
Because that was, when we thought they were gonna be Whiskey River Development, they were gonna be building houses.
I was told that no, that was their property and they were gonna do much to it. And I said, no, they cannot.
Well, I think one of the things that we can do is, and I think the city may have already done this, and that is no more mining.
Yeah, we did.
Look, a little late, but at least that's in place now. And I drive by here and I see that behind your house, and I'm like, I can't imagine what it's like from what you had to what you have to look at now. I mean, that's heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah.
The things we can do are, like when these mining companies started, one of the things that Patrick and I did was look at this company that is wanting to do this business here. And this is the one over on Haines, that when they started. And we didn't get really good feedback that evening when we were trying to talk about that. We have a responsibility to find out who are these companies, what are they doing. That one, I wasn't on city council. But I don't even know everything about that because it's so convoluted.
Yes.
But we are working that way. We are moving in that direction. And, we should be receptive to people who have issues. And it doesn't matter if it's Dallas County or Collin. We're all members of the same family here in Combine. And we need to listen and we need to try to help. And I think we do that a lot. But sometimes there are things that slip through the cracks, and we have to be able to address those, and that was one of them.
Well, and the lady from Haines, this was where they dug behind us, and she came up and she said, it is terrible there, the sand is blowing all on our houses, and I felt so bad that we were allowing, or maybe we couldn't stop it over on Haynes,
I think we could have.
but it was terrible. And I didn't feel like we gave any kind of how we can fix this for you. It
I
was,
didn't see one face on the council look at her seriously. They couldn't look her in the eye.
At the time, it was the way the ordinance was written. Like if they present the correct information and documents, then you shall give them a.
Well, you have a right as a city, and if they have judgments against them, which they did, and other cities had sued them, which they have, that we would have just cause for saying, we're not going to move in this direction until we know more about you. And,
Right after that,
developer is over all of this? One developer did it.
there's a couple of developers.
I'm not sure there's one developer.
You sure they're not all together?
They all are part of, they all have the same partner. There's 32 different LLCs, and nobody says
And
that.
y'all have, don't you have to have an acre of land here?
yes.
We're talking about.
There's no sewer in the town, right?
We're talking about them digging it.
I know, but when they develop,
Yeah.
they gotta have,
Yes.
they gotta follow codes and
Yes.
everything.
They
Yes,
do.
sir. Yes, sir.
They do. And now, actually, they have to have more than an acre, because it's a net acre now, right?
That's right.
So that, yeah.
So whenever they decide to start mining, do they come here to get a permit?
Not anymore.
Not anymore this week, because we outlawed mining in the city.
Okay, but prior to that, did they?
Prior to that,
Yes, there was an ordinance done for, excavation permits back in, I don't even remember the year. They had passed an ordinance that if anybody wanted to excavate or sand and gravel pits, because there's several around that were just left. So they used to allow it all the time. They would come here to get a permit for that.
Not in the residential area. Something that's rated residential, you can't dig there.
Right.
right.
And that's the problem with that big pit. It was like in a residential area.
And moving forward.
Yeah, that was
obviously,
done without
I can't go backwards, but as city council member, if I get voted in, I've got a lot of free time, but I will devote myself as well and take this job very seriously as a council member to make sure if there is a development coming in, that, and I think it's our responsibility to not just approve a permit, but we need to go visually and keep an eye on what's moving forward. Because without you knowing, or if we're going by there, nobody knows what's going on unless we're hearing it from you. But we need, as council, we need to go see it ourselves. This is not right. This is not following our ordinances, and we need to put a stop to it. And if no one's taking your voice serious, we need to be out there looking at it. And as on the council, if I get voted in, that is something that I will be doing. You need development moving
Perhaps a
forward.
background search into those, to check for lawsuits before a permit is
Well, I
granted.
There was no permit granted for that over there. so-
Yeah, I don't know how legal
Yeah,
it
but
is.
what's that?
There's never a permit?
No, we didn't need a permit though, because.
What do you mean they didn't need a permit?
Because it was not, they were not supposed to be mining. It was done without permission.
Is this part of some of these lawsuits that I've been hearing about that we're suing them because they just seek us and also, why don't we have inspectors, I know that.
Well, now that's why we.
If I can follow up on
That's
one
why we
question there,
have,
that's getting hijacked. I'm talking about not just for mining, I'm talking about for developers.
Right.
Any developer coming in,
Absolutely.
to clarify.
Right.
Not just mining, but somebody comes in and says, oh, I'm gonna build a development that digs a pit instead.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, do we want the yard workman coming in? I know him from back in the 80s, or, he's supposed to be dead.
That's why we're
But
contracted with
anyway,
the
I'm
engineer
talking
now.
about
Yeah.
any developer coming in.
That's the new thing we put into place, is that they have to have their permit now, gone over by the city manager and the engineer. So the engineer knows how deep they're gonna dig, and where they're gonna dig.
But
We
would it
did not have
include
to
a
put it
background
out.
check as to whether they have the law?
I don't know that that's legal.
Oh, yeah, and how they.
That's called a background check? You just look it up.
Can't do a background check?
any employer does
So,
a background check
hang on,
on an
because-
employee.
First of all, we're getting way into the weeds on things that are very detailed and on policies and procedures. But could we run a background check? Yes, I can't do it with my resources. There are other resources. Could you use that against them? Just because a lawsuit has been filed doesn't necessarily mean you can say no without putting the city in jeopardy. And that's where we would have to consult the city's attorneys as to whether or not there's something there we can do.
But to allow a developer that with lawsuits in to develop and combine, that would be just.
history
Again, I'm gonna be honest with you, not a single person up here can make that decision. That would be up to the city's attorneys.
Right.
So honestly, putting them in that position right now is probably not fair to
No,
ask them
but
that
they would
question.
take it to the attorney and go, hey, these people, you know,
And-
that's what we need.
And that's exactly
somebody
what
that-
happened here.
Well, after, yeah.
Again, they were doing things they didn't have permission to do. As soon as the city figured it out, it was shut down and things happened. But there were things going on back there that they did not have permission to do.
But with 50 trucks with sand going by every day, someone here at the city should have noticed something was going on that didn't. So how, there was a blind eye to that.
There was not. There were 50 trucks a day on top of 200 others that were already coming through.
Well, yeah.
We'll have to disagree on that.
Yeah.
Because that was also before this area down here was made into a no truck route. So the 400 to 500 trucks a day that are coming through the 4 sand pits that are down there now, most of them were coming through here, a good number of them anyway. So to add 50 really was not a large number
Unless they
at all.
just sat there and noticed that that's how they were
Get
coming.
there.
If they're coming down for 39.
Well,
There weren't that many.
Now that that's a no truck route and they can't come through, we notice every truck that's coming through here.
Well, good.
Because at this point, it's just a handful a day. But it was 1 every 5 minutes before that happened.
Great question, Max.
Two things that come to my mind, I mean, we're commercial general contractors, why aren't we making them put up a bond to bond whatever work that they're saying they're gonna do? So now we got an insurance company that would stand behind it if they're defrauding us, if they're saying I'm building a development, so well, fine, you know, what's the value of this development gonna be? You're gonna have to put up a bond for that. Now you got an insurance company standing behind you. And number two, you need to hire an inspection service.
We
The
have.
bad thing about,
Wait, hold on, let me answer that, because we do have an inspection service.
okay, well, that's good. But the bad thing about Texas, and I was with a group called SOB, Sick and Bad Builders, years ago, is that in Texas, contractors don't have to have a license. You have to have a license to go catch fish or get your hair cut, but you can build anything you want in Texas unless you're a plumber, electrician, or a HVAC. Those three have to have license. But the rest of them don't have to have license, but you can make them bond. And bonding is tough.
And they do, they have to register with the city, and they have to give me their certificate of insurance, all the subs do.
Yeah, but that's
But-
not a
That's
bond.
all, put it on cash on the bill.
You gotta make them bond, and you get the bonds up to 3 or 4 or 5 million.
Well, it's the value of the project.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking is just, when somebody builds a house, you know, if somebody builds their own houses,
Yeah.
you know, we let them know, all your subs are gonna have to, but, you know, this is the first development that's come in here since, I mean, you know, those other two new roads down there. So, you know, usually it's not,
You're in the next newest neighborhood, aren't you?
Well, bond protects
I think so,
the
and
city
that was
and,
years ago.
you know, the development. And that's what I would look into. I don't know how to go about doing that, but that would be something that y'all want to investigate, is to make them bond the value of whatever they lay out the project to be, and then you got something that maybe fall back on.
What are they gonna do?
Worth looking into.
What are they gonna do with this land? They gonna make a lake out there, is what they're saying?
no.
What are they doing with it?
Right now,
Taking the sand?
nothing right now,
And
no.
they're leaving a big hole out there?
If they can't do anything with that
We're-
development.
They're in law, it's in law, right now, they can't do anything to it.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Well, there's investors on this buying up everything, you know, what's going on. Forney's not what Coffin County is, and so these investors come in, they're buying out these
Well, they got a data
developments.
center going in Cranville and starting.
Well, what happens, they turn them into Section we go to church with a ton of people at our church in Forney. It's so sad. They have nice homes over there in, Windmill Farms, and now it's up to like 70% of them are rental homes. And one guy got on the HOA. The HOA is over $1 million in arrears, and this is how they're getting the homes. They sit there and they go after them for these HOA fees, the investors are. The minute they can't do it, they send a note, they foreclose on it, they file a lien on the house. That goes to the bank's gotta get rid of it, they're in bed with that bank, and they're getting these houses, they're taking their down payments, their equities and everything, and just, they don't care. And
It's
it's
not
not
happening here in Conway.
I know, but I'm just saying, you better watch out, because it can, and it's gonna happen over here in Kaufman County, I guarantee, in Crandall, with these tract home builders, that's what they're doing.
Well, that's one thing.
And they're buying out these whole tracts at one time,
How do we
they
keep them
just
there?
buy the whole thing.
Because we're gonna have to have at least one net acre.
Yeah, that's the place.
Otherwise, they're not gonna want to spend that money, so if you get them, and then we go building homes, and they want to get the money.
sewer in here.
Yeah.
Keep it down.
Yeah.
Keep it down, don't let them get sewer in here.
Right. I don't think they'll ever have to use
I do, I think the conservation easement helps you too, and I appreciate you a lot.
Well, I guess the only thing they have to do is follow them.
But then you got
They only got a hole, they got a big one, that was real back in.
Well, Becky brought up the fact that what they do is they'll create an LLC.
Yeah.
They get in trouble and they solve it. They
Yeah.
go and create another.
You can watch the years. You can watch how they got in trouble. You can see the years. I've got it in my car. The years, they, something must have happened here, about a year later, they started another one.
Yeah.
They're from floor companies to tile companies to, and this is the same developer we're dealing with.
I can tell you, I'd make them get a bond, because they gotta get past that insurance company, and if you can get them to bond under that name, you got something to fall back on. If they can't get a bond, then you can't do it. And that's where I would go with some.
Most of these excavators can afford a bond. Believe
Well,
me.
they got.
Big developers can afford a bond.
Yeah.
And if they can't, then that says something.
Right.
So Patrick, you mentioned those ordinances that you and Dale look at and everything. So what happened with those?
Well, a couple of, we voted on, and as a council, a couple of them passed, and a couple of them didn't. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, all right.
Well, may we ask what passed?
Just widening the streets, correct?
Yeah.
The, sidewalks passed, the tree ordinance did not pass. But
A separate tree ordinance did not pass, but we are looking at that.
Right.
in the-
Well, it wasn't a tree ordinance, it was a request for, that we could continue to research that and come up with Combine's original tree ordinance. It wasn't going to be anybody else's, but somehow the conversation turned to about how awful tree ordinances are, and,
The city attorney has something to do with that.
Hmm?
The city attorney has something to do with that, and that's why it's taken so long to get the wording the way we're looking at
Right,
it
but I mean,
now.
that night, when I was presenting it,
the attorney hadn't heard it.
we were just asking,
Right.
would the council bless the idea that we could continue to do some research and bring back an ordinance and have them review it? And that was shut down. And also, when I was talking about this company that was wanting to buy it over on Hain, that was shut down. And so those are the two things that we were all kind of working on. But since then, they are working on trying to come up with a good tree ordinance, and they have passed new, ordinance, passing different aspects of the ordinance that are helpful. And so it's moving forward. Sometimes you come a little too early for something that for people aren't thinking about that right then, but they do eventually, and that's where it's moving right now. I'd like to be a part of that. Is it hot in here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew it wasn't having a hot flash, those days are long.
And Don was very
So y'all ask, I just had a lot of questions for y'all. I don't wanna ask if somebody else has them.
Oh, go ahead, well, chime in.
All right, 2 acres. Would you be for a 2 acre minimum rather than just 1 acre? Some of the mega houses that are built, and I know that you have to have 1 acre plus the rest of it, but it's sort of like over in Highland Park where you have this little lot and this huge house.
0 lot line.
0 lot line, where I don't think it started out like that, but the house got so big that, so tell me what you think about a 2 acre.
I don't think that we can do that legally, but also, the deal there's a percentage of your land has to be left open, in order to build a sewage, in order to have, your septic system on it. And so that's already in place. Those giant houses that you're talking about, somehow they engineered new septic systems, or the septic system's under the house or something, and most of it, so they did some weird engineering, smoke and mirrors for that. I'm not really sure how it works. I have no idea, but I do know that you have to have, is like 50% of your land has to be open, right?
I'm the same with you, I look at it and I think, dude, Bureau Veritas is the company that's supposed to get the ordinance, our rules followed, they have to inspect, they're inspectors. And you look at some of those places and you wonder, did they figure the percentages right, because it looks like it's taking up a whole lot. But then there's an empty lot next door, and I don't know if that lot belongs to them or not, and that's how it worked out, so I don't trust our independent inspectors, because our independent inspectors are telling us they know that let it go off.
Yes.
I think we could look at it. I know that there's been other cities, Sunnyvale was one that tried to do a 2 acre lot. And they were in court about it for years and years and years. 1.5 acre? I don't know. We could look and just see what
the law is.
What's available, but what are our options? And it's not that hard to do, you make a phone call or you go online, you can see, is there a law against the city having 2 acre ordinance? And the size of the city that we are, we're not Dallas, we're not Austin, which I just got back from, and oh my God, trying to navigate around in Austin now, it's insane. But we're not that big, we're a general law, I don't know, maybe we can do a little more, but all we have to do is ask.
Well, we do have to ask the question though, whether or not, if we made a law like that, would that mean that everybody in the city would already be grandfathered into the 1 lot?
Of course, yeah, there would be
So it only be new people coming in, and it would be.
Well, we're just talking about development.
Yeah,
So it would be
exactly.
right?
It would be,
No, not the land is already in the city, I'm not certain.
and it would be developers, not somebody that has 5 acres and they want to put a house on 1 acre for their kids, whatever like that. We're talking about development.
Well, I think we can look it up, and we can find out whether it's doable. If it's not doable, it's not doable.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe.
I like the 1.5 acre. I think that is a good medium. What they're coming up with the 1 acre net, with the easements, I think it's gonna work out between 1.25 to 1.5 already. So they're already working a good direction that way, and it's just depend on each lot size. Some lot size with the easement already may be 1.5, but I think the minimum's probably gonna come out to about 1.25. But I'm not opposed to going to 1.5 to 2, but I think 1.5 would be more reasonable. But
Then it would be 1 3/4. With that acre.
The maximum allowable by law. That's what to look for.
Yeah.
What is the maximum allowable by law? As long as we're there under, then.
Well, that's dependent upon lawsuits.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, I can say, I'd like to have, every house has to have 5 acres from now on. But the first person that comes and builds would want to sue the city and say, that's unreasonable, and you just did it to keep me out, and we'd be into lawsuit territory. So what we want to do is take the idea of what you said, and what the most we can do, as opposed to what's reasonable, like already we're reasonably increasing it, right?
I believe that's
Your
what
1 acre
the
can't-
largest amount by law, and then as long as we're under that, we get if it's 5 acres, and our 2 acres are perfect. It's, we need more, looking at what can we possibly do instead of what might happen.
Definitely have to do some research on that.
I'd rather not become Crandall.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
We will be with a 1 acre and 1+ acre now minimum, you know, we can't be.
But that's 2,500 square feet under roof, cutting the garage. So how much of that acre is left?
Quite a lot. Quite a bit. Yeah.
How far are you gonna be from your neighbor, from the house next to you?
Or you can set back to the side.
Yeah.
And it depends on if you build up closer or farther back on your lot and.
Yeah, 15 feet,
Depends on
like
the.
living in the city.
No, what?
Depends on, yeah, depends on your lot.
What is the restrictions on commercial on the back of your property in Combine? I'm just curious. I mean, we had a new neighbor move in, and it's very obvious he's running his tobacco business or whatever, and our street's private, and so we have to maintain it, and his trucks are going up and down, pulling his tractors and everything. I'm just curious, do y'all have any authority over these neighborhoods, or is it ran just by our deed restrictions?
If it's in the city of Combine, regardless of the private road, the rules for R1 housing, or housing, is the same everywhere. So if somebody's running a business that they shouldn't be running out of a house,
Residential.
then you need to contact the code enforcement, right? Code enforcement.
They can have a home-based business with certain restrictions,
Right.
but yeah, it would be, yeah.
Who is code enforcement?
Jack. There's only me and Jack, so.
City manager.
So as it grows, is Jack gonna be able to take care of all this?
Yeah, yeah, well, I mean, and hopefully we will, you know, it's like to hire more people and to get some of these things where we have to increase taxes. So,
And increase the building, more offices.
and increase the building, you know, and that's gonna cost. So,
It's down a lot, very good.
yeah, so, we're hoping to retire soon, so.
Another reason to start from.
But, yeah, it's,
Do y'all as council people ever see getting some of these people that are not in the city limits coming into the city?
they have to ask.
And how?
We can't annex, we used to be able to annex if we had a population of 5,000.
We were the only ones.
If we had a population of 5,000, but now the only way anybody can annex is for that specific person to come and tell you, we want to be annexed.
The land behind us, so.
And then just their house would be in it,
Yes,
not the area they live in?
That's
right,
I mean, well, they're
right,
acres.
their property.
What would be the benefit to them to be annexed by the city?
Police protection.
Don't they do that now?
Y'all go out.
Well, they.
We will assist the sheriff's office, but we don't go out into the county and patrol.
Countryside. Ocala. So do y'all go to Ocala?
Not if we can help it. I mean, like, again, if the sheriff's department calls and asks us for help, we will go help. You might see us go through there going from one place to another occasionally. I'm not gonna say that our squad cars never leave the city limits, like there's walls there, but Ocala is not part of our responsibility.
But they have no reason to come into the city because they do have it most of the time. If the sheriff, you go down, our fire department goes down, I'm paying taxes. and they're getting the same benefits that I am.
For fire, yeah.
For fire, yes. For the police department, no. We won't go down there and handle things for the sheriff's department. If someone's house is burglarized, we're not gonna go investigate that. But if the sheriff's department needs a cover unit for a disturbance or something like that, we'll provide that. We won't go answer alarms or do things like that. That's on the sheriff's office. Again, it's outside of the city limits and not our responsibility. You have to remember, our fire department is completely different. They're a 503C, they're a separate entity from the city. And that's an arrangement that the fire department has with the county.
So I'm just trying to figure out, what do we do to make them want to come into the city, to pay the taxes so that we are able to do more things? I mean,
No, Kansas, think y'all wanna pay all of it for you.
If Seagoville were wanting to annex them, we would certainly want to tell them how much lower our taxes are than Seagoville. That would be an incentive, but otherwise, there's not a lot of incentive for them. And I don't see a lot we can do about that. Because unfortunately, although if we had a fire, what's that called?
ESD.
ESD, then all these outliers that are not taxpayers in city would be part of that ESD, and then they would have to pay the fees to the fire department to help them run, which would save some tax dollars.
yeah, it would help them too.
But we don't have that yet. I know that Christie says she was working on it, get one started, and that would be good for everybody if she could. Because then they'd have some people hired, they'd have a board, they'd have, you know,
Everybody on Lake Worth,
right.
What would it take with GPS? Why couldn't you just make a loop and say, if you're in this, inside, you're in the city. If you're outside the city. Would it take a referendum? Would it take a?
Take the legislature saying that cities have the right to do that, and they won't. They keep taking more and more and more away from us, what we have the right to do.
We have our city boundaries, but we can't take anybody in fact, we have holes in the city for people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's next door neighbors.
But we can't,
Yeah, it's crazy.
we're not allowed to
Makes my life
difficult.
It's practically biblical. One was taken, one's not.
Well, we're grateful that y'all are willing to stand up here, and Julie, and I can't think of your name right now, but you're on the P and Z, and you came to us to look at our hole, Gerald. Yes, but it takes a lot to be a city council if you're really working for the city and researching and driving the streets and know what's going on in your city and not letting that happen and you not know that you just didn't see it, because if you were anywhere close, you would have known it was going on. But thank you for being willing. It's not a very thankful job. He was on it, so I know that it's not always nice and easy. So thank you
But
for
it's
being
really
willing to
important.
do it.
You know, it's really important, and
It is.
honestly, I don't mind doing it, but I am tired, so I do have time. And, you know, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
I think it's our responsibility. I mean, that's what we're signing up to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not just another line on the
It's to
road.
protect our city, and not just your home, but my home as well. This is our home. This is our town, and
And I
so
think
we're all
everybody,
one big family.
everybody that's on that city council feels that way. They all live here, you know. At times we have differences of opinion about things, but there's not a single person on there that doesn't love the city.
Right.
Right. Well, thank y'all for coming and talking to us.
Thank y'all for
Thank you all.
Thank y'all for being here, we appreciate it. We'll be starting our next meeting in 7 minutes.
Are we ahead?
Okay.
27th, 2026. Public hearing. Everybody can hear. Roll call. Present are Councilmember Judy Castaneda. Christy Smith will not be with us tonight. Councilmember Tanya Ratcliffe, Councilmember Patrick Stepp, Mayor Pro Tem Cecil Hudson, and Mayor Tim Ratcliffe are here. At this time, a little bit different format than our regular meeting. Citizen comments on proposed zoning and land development regulations. Citizens must sign the form furnished by the city prior to the hearing to speak. Citizens may speak for 3 minutes each on matters concerning the proposed changes and updates and offer additional suggestions on a first-come, first-served basis. All citizen comments and planning and zoning recommendations will be taken into consideration prior to any action. I have one person signed up in the office.
Oh, Mayor and Council, good evening. Good evening, fellow, what are we, combines? I want to reiterate some items that I've spoken to before, but also that was discussed in the Mid-Canada Forum. And I spoke on this to P&Z last meeting also. Part of that is the subdivision guidelines. And I always say, well, how much is legal? How much isn't legal? Well, let's research and find out. Let's bring it in. I stand on 2 acres. I lived in a nice community, Delworth Gardens. Their lot was 1.5 acres minimum. So I know you can have some guidelines in there somewhere. That was city set, not developer set. But mansions, shoulder to shoulder. Now, they did not have to deal with septic issues, but I know we have to remain in that, and we have gross and net and all that. I'm not worried about that. 2 acres. Also, as our subdivision, I'm going to call them guidelines, were set recently for a subdivision under a certain number. I think that should apply to every subdivision, or else we're going to have, I'm going to call it a starter subdivision here. And then we're going to have, oh, I'm going to build one right here. Oh, let's just cut a road through. So I have two smalls, which becomes one large. Let's just put quality in place. If we can't be known as a little small farm county anymore, let's at least go for combined quality and a good quality of life with it. Within that, some zoning, I want to point out one thing in particular. As we curve right up here, I can't think of the name of the streets, but we have 3 streets going in the larger houses, and the lighting. Oh my goodness, I do not want that lighting in my backyard. I back up to what we're talking about. I don't want to see all that light. It's light pollution. It goes into our nature. It goes into sleep, everything else, but there's no reason to have that much light at those lumens going 24/7. As the case may be. But let's be known for quality of life. Let's widen those roads, put the sidewalks in, and I agree completely, whoever said it on the bond, thank you. That would answer so many of our questions. I wish this were wood so it wouldn't echo like that. But let's go for that bond. If they cannot afford a bond, then they can't afford to be in business. And I thank you for listening. And I'm available at any time if you want to call me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Number 4, consideration. The council will consider and hear comments, additional suggestions, and our evidence for planning and zoning, and citizens for or against amendments to the City of Combine zoning and land development ordinance. Exhibit A, Article 2, zoning districts, amending text to include the term setback rather than yard, and Article 3, subdivisions, Section 3.2, definitions by adding the definition of tree, and Section 3.4, preliminary subdivision plats, further regulating the clearing of trees. Planning and zoning, thank you for that.
Good evening. So we reviewed everything again last Tuesday, and a couple
things did stand out to us, in which we had some questions. And I can see now why they have us review it more than once, because things get past the eye. On the second review, one of the things that, was questioned is that in the 1 net acre definition, it only seems to speak to, easements. Easements being what cannot be included in the 1 net acre. Throughout the rest of the document, there's multiple statements of where it says easements and setbacks together. And so we were a little confused as to what was actually meant in regards to the addition of setbacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. But we kind of came to the thought that maybe we need to remove the setbacks where it is the phrase easement and setbacks are. Now, I did speak with Robin a little bit on this, so maybe she can help me.
Yeah, well, and, yeah, that makes sense, because that is all we're talking about, is usable surface area after easement. And so, if you think setbacks, you think, you know, the building line, my building setback, well, it's not after that 60 feet, that's just your building line. That's why we kind of changed it to say, you know, building instead of yard. But, and so I've shown that in the copy that I gave you, the highlighted areas is what we discussed at the last meeting, the changes, and then what's red and marked out is what planning and zoning was suggesting. So if we wanted to take that wording out, that's what that represents.
I have one question, and I saw it mentioned in one place in here, but when we talk about 1 net acre usable surface, what about if it's already on the acre?
That's not counted.
On the acreage before you buy it?
It cannot be included.
It's not included, okay, so that's extra.
Yes.
Okay, good, all right.
It can't be counted as your usable space.
Okay. I think it just said physical features in one place, and that includes farms.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a couple other things, but
Yeah.
I want to read. Can we do that? Okay.
Yeah.
The other was in regards to the mention of tree mitigation plan. While it is spoken of, it was a bit unclear as to should I be looking for a tree mitigation plan, or am I supposed to come up with a tree mitigation plan? Point is, we were a little unclear on how that was supposed to work. So a bit more clarity there would be welcome.
You want to explain that, or Jackie, you want to explain that?
Well,
The plan is
I did talk with Robin about that.
yeah. And the way it was written, yeah, it does make it sound like you need to reference a tree mitigation plan. So when we added the trees, the definition, I think, now, of the tree, and then where we talk about the part that was added is person or corporation no person or corporation shall indiscriminately clear trees of any property. And it said without a tree mitigation plan approval and written approval from the city or prior to the issuance of grading permit, except as provided, and it's got A, B, and C down there. So, that came from the city attorney, and which I don't understand why they added that, because we talked about that, but any development that comes in, or anybody that wants a grading permit for whatever reason on any piece of, you know, like a development, they're gonna have to get permission. Pam's gonna have to look at it. He wants to see the, you know, what trees there are, what trees that they're wanting to take out and why, correct? And
Normally, we ask for a tree survey that show what type of tree, what size of the main trunk, measure 2 feet from the ground. Anything that they're gonna cut over 3 inches in diameter, they have to have mitigation. So
And that's
So should we
determined
say
by,
a tree survey?
yes,
Or should
determined
we-
by the city engineer and the city manager.
Correct. Yeah, that'll all be part of the, plans that are turned in before anything's approved to grade or.
These are for new construction only.
Right. Development.
Only, well, it's not a single house.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Not a single house.
Okay, so for my clarification, what would lead me to know what to do in that regard? So if I'm, developer, how would I know I need a tree?
Well, that's what I asked him, should we say without a tree survey? Well, I know something is gonna have to be.
Right, what clicks me into the next thing, right?
Right.
Okay.
So,
Tree
mitigation
include the tree survey first, and then the plan for implement the planting of the new tree. They're considered as a tree mitigation plan. So how do they know they need a tree survey?
Should that be part of the grading plan?
It's a two document, one is tree survey, one is mitigate, the tree planting mitigation.
Okay, so should the tree survey be part of the grading permitting process?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll write that to where that's part of.
Where it will lead into the next.
Okay, how do we, I understand what you're saying, we get the, what do you call it, the tree survey, and between the city manager and the city engineer, they're gonna take a look at that, see where they wanna build their house and what trees have to be taken down, or other trees they wanna take down just because they don't like trees or whatever.
This would probably be if they're for the roads and what the roads they're gonna put in to develop, not necessarily each individual lot.
Normally when the subdivision plan comes in, they'll have a house pad show on the plot plan.
Yeah.
If they're gonna clear the tree where the house pad is, they need to have a mitigation plan. Plus watering all the trees within the right of way and easement.
Okay, I understand that. My question is, how could, if it's between the city manager and the city engineer that are gonna make this decision on mitigation, is that even enough to not be really subjective, for somebody not saying, hey, you're picking on me, you're making me do more than the next guy?
It doesn't matter what we do, that'll happen.
Possibly.
No, we look at the tree survey, and we look at only the asset tree. I'm not looking at boardock and drag tree.
So do we need
So
something that says what specific trees? We don't have anything like that.
Yeah, there's a list of asset trees protected park and wildlife. Okay, if you
We
cut
looked at
those
that
trees, the city council would need to decide what % replacement you want. Most cities require 100%, I mean, you cut 100 inch of tree, you plant back 100 inch of tree.
Yeah, I'm a little.
But some cities drop to 75%.
Yeah, which I think is much more reasonable. I know what they go through in heat, and it's not pretty, and it's totally unnecessary. But I think we have a list of trees. I think when Dell was on the council, we were considering her tree mitigation plan. We had a list of asset trees. We need to go back and look at that and see that we still agree with it. I don't remember what was on it. But we can put whatever we want on it. And then include that again as part of the grading permit process.
So now again, that's just for new subdivisions, not individual homes. Now they'll come up with a plan, is what you're saying, is that when they come in, as for the planning, they'll be provided a tree, some type of document to complete.
Well, that's what we'll have to,
trees.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
we'll have to let them know that that's something we need with the grading permit, which we can put on the grading permit, with other, documents and surveys and stuff
So
they have to.
Grading permit is gonna apply to somebody who's gonna develop multiple lots. So they sell off those lots, and they have an individual owner who owns a 1 acre lot. And then what? Because basically, they can come in and clear all the trees off if they want.
Well, it's what he was saying is when they do the subdivision plat, they can put where the building lines are. This is where.
And then we'll limit, lot owners to that. Can we do that?
Yeah, in the building permit, plot plans have to be submitted as a part of
I see
building
what you're
permit.
saying.
And that's how we control it.
But then, what if the person who buys it you know, that tree's too close to my house, I've had a tree fall on my house before, so I wanna cut it because it's too close for me. Or I wanna put in a volleyball pit or a pool or something, you know, and there's trees in the way. I mean, it seems like, are we telling them, no, they can't touch their trees?
The plot plan would show that they're gonna, there's an 8-inch tree here, 6-inch tree here.
I understand that.
That under the house, under the pool. If they remove those 2 trees and become an asset tree, they're too liable. And then they're gonna have to replace it 14 inches.
The
Somewhere
individual
along the line.
So even if it's just an individual that bought in a current subdivision?
Yeah. If they're gonna build a brand new
I had to
home.
cut a lot of trees down to have room to build my house, even though we kept a lot of trees, and I wanted to plant more.
Well, see, that's the thing, this is what he
Well, then
does,
this will be a single house.
this is what he does. If you buy an individual lot,
Yeah.
you've got to account for, like you're saying, every inch of trees that's on there. So if you have an old fence line, it's got a bunch of hackberries this big, you've got to count every one of those, you've got to measure every one of them, and you've got to replace that many inches.
We're not putting hackberries on it, though.
Huh?
We're not putting hackberries on it.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
we don't want to get into
But they have to
just
count
too deep,
and mitigate green erosion.
because they do that. And we don't want to, we don't want to limit it that much.
Also, Pan, if there's an area where they buy a lot where they either have to add dirt or remove dirt, to build in that area, 5, 6 houses, whatever it is, how does that gonna impact also?
Typically they'll submit a building permit with a plot plan and grading plan. And we would have to look that if just scratching the surface of maybe a foot or less or about a foot, and then we're not gonna make them do a full grading permit plan. But if they cut the hill down and do all the type of stuff that cause erosion into the ground, then we would ask them to submit a grading permit plan.
And then you would be going out there with Jack, or who would actually be going out there doing, or would it be the individual itself doing?
Normally Jack and I will go and take a look at it.
Okay, anything else on that topic?
Yes, I think we just circle back around to it's also individual homes. Because if somebody buys a lot in a subdivision, it needs to come down more trees to however they want to build.
Well, but we just talked about that with a subdivision plat, that there's going to be spaces marked off where houses are going to fit. So we're going to know what trees are there. So if they want to build a pool or whatever, we're already going to know what trees are there. And so if they want to take out a 6-inch live oak, they're going to have to replace a 6-inch live oak.
When they come in with their grading permit, with their permit to build, building permit?
Yes.
Can I add something maybe? Sure. So since we're talking about the subdivision ordinance, then this tree mitigation should be subject to a subdivision development. And that's what we need to be focused on a development. And then if we want to do something with individual lots, that would be separately at another time that we would direct it toward individuals, not or whatever, but this would have to be about the subdivision only, not about both. It would have to be about a subdivision.
Sure, but I think what the mayor was saying is like, let's say there is gonna be a subdivision, and then all of a sudden they sell each of those lots before they start building the houses,
Exactly.
Then is it still a subdivision?
No, then it would be an individual. So
We're gonna have
right
to-
now,
Yeah.
right now, we're thinking about a regulation before the individual lots are sold. We're thinking about a grading
Okay.
permit, what we're talking about then. Now, the next step would be, once they turn into individual lots, do we want to regulate that in any way?
Yes.
But this would be just about, initially, it's just about the initial developer and the grading permit on the subdivision plat.
Okay. Okay, anybody else on this issue? Back to you, Rebecca.
Well,
No other?
Rebecca, I do have another question.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody wants to, or has a question, and they want to use specific to planning and zoning, how do they contact me? They have to go through the city, or how do they, is there a way they can contact, or only during the meeting?
Please.
That's what's gonna happen.
No, people have no business contacting planning and zoning directly. They come to planning and zoning meetings, but planning and zoning is volunteers who do not need to be subjected to direct contact. And if you see somebody on the street and you want to talk to them about it, that's your business. But as far as putting out contact information, we're council members, we have contact here at City Hall, but I think it's terribly unfair to ask volunteers on planning and zoning to be subjected to that.
They can contact me.
Well, the question was asked, there was a question was raised, and.
No, that's good,
So
that's
just
good.
clarify it, we can
No, that's good, but they can go through me, and I can answer any questions or.
I have to assume anyway.
Okay,
Do I need to be up here for the zoning map as well?
I don't think so. Okay, number 5, consideration, the council will consider amending the official City of Combine zoning map, correcting errors on the map. The amendment will not alter existing zoning districts. It also will not alter the actual official order.
Right.
It's just clarification.
Correcting errors.
Yeah, directing errors. And I will tell you that this comes up with FEMA every 10 years when there's a census. We have to do a census map, and there's always errors. And then it comes up from the appraisal district every 4 or 5 years, and there's always corrections that have to be made. I've never understood it. When I first got on the council, I did the first FEMA maps. Took me months to go through all of it. I did everything I could to make sure that they were perfect. 4 years later, appraisal district comes in and says, oh no, that's not right. Okay. So anyway, that's what this is. So if everybody's familiar with the changes on the maps, any questions, comments about that?
Same as that matches up there.
We will need a motion for number 6.
I make a motion that we,
Not yet, this is the hearing,
Oh,
we haven't started council meeting.
no, I know, but we have to adjourn the hearing.
Oh, yeah, I thought he was making a motion
Oh,
to
no.
set the map, sorry.
Just jumping right out. No, not yet.
are we done?
Yes.
All right.
Please.
I make a motion that we adjourn
The public hearing.
the public hearing.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now, we are adjourned at 7:22. Good. At 7:23, we will begin the regular meeting of the Combine City Council. President, Councilmember Julian Castaneda, Councilmember Tanya Ratcliffe, Councilmember Patrick Stepp, Mayor Pro Tem Cecil Hudson, and Mayor Tim Ratcliffe. If you would be places like these. Everybody would stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Help me out, Tanya.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Lord, we just thank you that we can gather like this, that you will be with us and watch over us, help us to make good decisions on behalf of the city and the citizens, that we would be the best people that we can be in everything that we do, that we would guide and direct all the business of the city in a way that would be pleasing to you. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay. No citizens' comments for this one? Okay. I think that's how we do read that, do I? Okay, number 5, review of monthly reports, council review, and ask any questions they may have on the regular monthly reports from the police department, fire department, animal control, public works, code enforcement, and planning and zoning.
Fire chief.
the pollen getting to everybody or something? You had an enormous number of medical calls with us.
We did, it's been busy. Little quieter this month, but.
So when you go out on a domestic disturbance, do you hose people down?
I'd love to. No, we're not allowed to do that.
Oh, okay.
How's training coming along? Is she done, ready to go?
Training's doing well. She just entered her third phase of training today. So we've got between a month and 6 weeks left before she's actually out on her own.
Outstanding.
But she's doing good.
Great, great. Any recruitment?
No.
Anything?
No. We really only have the capability to train one at a time. So just to keep us out of a situation where we, would have to make a decision, we'll just, once we get her trained, we'll go back into recruiting.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
77 traffic stops, that's a lot.
We got back busy on the triangle again, down here at Combine Road. We kind of relaxed off that a little bit, weren't spending as much time out there, but the trucks pay attention to that, and so they were really starting to get hard and heavy through there again, so we spent a little bit more time out there. 2 weeks ago, I came in at like 5 o'clock in the morning for 3 mornings in a row and really surprised them. They didn't like that, but, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way we could make it such that for citizens, we give them a warning before we get a speeding ticket?
We can't mandate that. That falls into the whole quota thing, to say that you will or you won't. It's kind of encouraged, but a lot of it depends on the situation too. I will tell you, especially for teenagers, I don't tend to warn the first time. Teenagers don't take the consequences of their actions nearly as seriously as they should. I know I was a teenager. I was a terrible driver as a teenager. And so we have to, I, at least myself, want to make the biggest impression I possibly can the first time. Because I don't want to be knocking on a door at 2 o'clock in the morning to tell somebody that their child's not coming home. I would much rather explain to a parent why their teenager got a ticket than have to explain to them that their child's not coming home.
Absolutely. But, some of our citizens have been citizens forever, and they've never been stopped for speeding, they've never gotten a speeding ticket, and oh my God, first time I've ever been stopped, and he gave me a ticket.
I will tell you, just last week I had a traffic stop, it was Friday, that the conversation went very, very, very much that way. I've lived here for 20 years, I've never gotten a ticket, I can't believe I'm getting a ticket, and then as the conversation went on, I also learned that he was pissed off at Crandall for writing him a ticket when he should have got a warning, and pissed off at Sunnyvale for writing him a ticket when he should have got a warning. So, again, every situation's different. I do encourage that if it's a citizen, if you're inclined to give a warning, then do so. But like I said, I can't mandate, because that falls into the same area as quotas. I can't say you will write tickets, and I can't say you will not write tickets.
Sure.
Not only that, Chief, but I've noticed an increase in people running off the road on 1389. It's increased. I've seen all these car marks. I've seen him speeding. I've seen dump trucks pass cars going the speed limit. I think it's only fair they're speeding over 5-10 miles an hour on whichever road.
And I will tell you, as individual officers, of course, again, I can't set a line that says you will not stop for less than, 10 over or 15. But as individual officers, I know that most of us are somewhere in between the 10 to 15 mile an hour range before we'll even think about stopping. And then from there, out here in 1389, right through here, I won't stop for anything less than 60. So, at that point, if you're already going 60 on 1389 where it's 45, how many verbal warnings am I going to give at that point? We're at that point 15 miles an hour with the posted speed limit. So a lot of that, again, just depends on the individual situation. I'll tell you that my tolerance on 3039 is a little less. I'll stop for 11 over on 3039. After they changed the speed limit from 45 to 50, I more or less kept to my judgment of what I think is a reasonable and prudent speed at the same level, regardless of where the state said it was. You know, I think that 60 miles an hour is too fast through there.
And if you've lived here for a long time, you should know what the speed is.
Yeah, it's amazing how many times I've had people, you know, that have no idea what the speed limit is, but they've lived here their whole life. And I know that, at
Especially
least
on
in
the
the 3.5 years I've been here, 1389 hasn't changed. I know 3039 changed.
Or 50
And I'll tell you, sometimes it appears that they know where you run during the night, because it's always the same cars going up and down, and
Very
it's
much.
always, like it's on the weekends, it's terrible. During the evening hours from 5 to 8 o'clock, people are flying, like if I'm constantly going up both roads and. Yeah,
And you know, one thing that doesn't get recorded in our stats is the number of people that we just flash our lights at, that are like 1 or 2 miles an hour. They're getting close to that point where we would stop them, and really, instead of waiting for them to get up there, we'll just start flashing our lights. So there's literally, every one of our cars, a button on the steering wheel will just flash the lights in front. And I do that 10 times a day. And, yes, and they hit the brakes quickly. So, you know, that could be considered 10 warnings that don't actually get recorded on our stats, because we didn't actually make a traffic stop there. We just flashed them real quick to get them to slow down.
But if you do give them a warning, there's a way to like you said, I gave you a warning last week.
Yes.
And you're speeding again, right?
Yes, our ticket writer system, when we scan the barcode on the back of a driver's license, it does an automatic search for anything local. It won't tell us their complete driving history.
Right.
But, you know, anything that they've had local, at least since we've adopted that system, well, the year before last, I think we've had it about 1.5 years now. And that's happened a couple of times. It actually just happened with the truck driver for me a few weeks ago. Oh, it's my first time through here, and as soon as I hit the back of his driver's license, it told me that I had written him a ticket 2 months earlier for being in the same spot. So, yeah, I didn't believe, you know, it does that when we, put the driver's license in. They'll also do that when we put the license plate number in, so maybe same vehicle with a different driver, it'll alert us too. And if we do a warning, it will tell us that warning was there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too bad you can't write tickets for people passing on those hills and see the.
Well, I think it will, I think it will.
They passed me on those hills.
Okay, any other questions or comments, reports? Okay, let's move on. Number 6, review and approve the treasurer's reports. Council review and approve the March 2026 treasurer's report.
Robin, is there anything we should be looking at in the treasurer's report?
No, nothing we can do anything about,
All right.
like the attorney fees, but.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Did we have a building problem this last month, a maintenance problem?
Yeah, the leak.
I thought we were a little high on our maintenance budget, so
Yeah.
Good water leak?
Uh-huh.
back in the corner, I can't see it.
It was like, it was weird, it has not leaked the last couple of times, so they came and did replace something, and then they came back when it was still leaking and caulked everything that they could.
They replaced that panel, didn't they?
Huh?
They replaced one of those panels, didn't they? One of the roof panels.
Yeah.
That was my.
Robin, I just have a question. The combine, the Crandall and combine is at community center or
The library?
library, yeah. Do we use it for anything else? I mean, can that be used for anything else?
That money?
Just the library. No, not the money, the building itself.
The one we.
Yeah, you can sign up to use rooms.
Yeah, they have you can reserve it
Okay.
through,
Oh, perfect.
I guess.
I noticed.
I mean, the library just recently moved in there.
Right.
The library was
Okay.
at the high school.
Because I was out there today and asked the ladies that were in the boarding stuff, but they said they had no idea about that.
Yeah.
Make sure, because there have been some residents that have asked me about a
Yeah.
community center, and I told them about the community center over
Yeah.
there.
And
I want to make sure they know that, that way they're aware of what's available to them.
Last time I attended one of their meetings, they were interested in, because they have boards and they have a place for combine citizens to sit on the library board, and, they're always saying, if anybody's ever interested, to call the library, go back there and talk to them, if they have a place, if you're interested in volunteer, sit on the board. Remember, they do a lot of good, and, so that if a citizen's interested, just go by there and talk to her, she's really nice, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry. But, and maybe be a part of that. It's good because that's our school, and I like to go to the meetings there because, you know, that's our stuff too, so we kind of need to know what's going on. So, great. Thank you, Jim.
Make a motion, we approve the March 2026 treasurer's report.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the March 2026 Treasurer's Report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 7, review and approve the minutes to council review and approve the March 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting minutes.
Good, so I make a motion to approve the March 23rd, 2026, city council meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the March 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, number 8, discussion and action. The council will discuss and take action on approving ordinance number 2026-002, amending the City of Combine zoning and land development ordinance, Article 2, zoning districts by amending Section 2-1, R1 single-family residential district, Section 2-2, MH Manufactured Housing District, Section 2-3, AG Agricultural District, Section 2-4, GB General Business District, Commercial, Section 2-5, I Industrial District, Section 2-6, Residential Accessory Buildings, Structures, and Article 3, Subdivisions by amending Section 3-2, Definitions, Section 3-4, Preliminary Subdivision Plats as set forth in Exhibit A, and providing for correcting drafting errors to the zoning map. Okay, this is obviously what we were discussing in the previous meeting. And I think that we can approve the changes to the zoning, to the maps, which are just drafting stuff. I think that we're going to have to work on the wording, the rest of it, but I'll let you know.
I would like to read all those sections Yeah, I mean, we're just making a motion to change the map, correct? As far as the wording goes,
Do you feel like you need to put some more stuff in there about the trees and stuff?
Yeah, I think most of the wording, that the changes that we made to the wording are workable and what they should be. But we need to flesh that out and make it part of the grading permit. And I think that's something that Robin and Jack and I can do before the next meeting.
okay, so
We have to have,
yeah, so we can table that now.
we'll have to have another hearing on it.
I don't know. I don't think so. We've met and then we've had the hearing, and
Yeah.
from the hearing is the discussion to do everything. So,
So if we all agree that we want to incorporate what we talked about with the trees and then into the grading permit,
right.
then the way you massage it into there.
And then we could look at, I mean, if you want the wording in here as well as in the grading permit, then we'll have to postpone updating this. So, just trying to get it on there too. But,
I mean, we can't update it and then vote on it whether we like it or not?
say that again?
I mean, can we update it and then vote on it? I mean, I don't wanna vote on it before I get a chance to see it.
Well, that's, yeah, kind of.
Well, the changes would be what they were talking about, adding it to it.
Would they? It could say the mayor gets a new boat.
Yeah.
Put that in there.
Makes it a pontoon facing away.
Yeah.
And then we just.
Okay, could we eliminate
If you
any of the mentions the trees, and pass the changes that we have in this. And then,
well, there's mention of the trees in here.
I know.
Right, so
We're
yes,
going
we could
to-
pass it the way, the changes that were talked about last time and that are highlighted this time. And, then we could, come back, you know, to talk about, do we want
Put
to
the trees.
add anything else in here which would require another hearing, or we can just, you know, add it to the
But
grading permit.
Would it require another hearing if we're not maybe changing anything in the zoning regulation, we're just changing what goes on with the permit? The grading.
Not if it's not listed in here. Yeah, if it's specifically listed in here, then yes, we have to publish it in the newspaper, we have to have a hearing.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, but if we're not,
But
we're
if we're
just
not,
making
then
it
we
as
don't.
part of the grading permit.
Right, then no, we do not have to have a hearing, no.
Okay, so it depends on whether or not we need it in there.
Right.
So I don't know if we do or not.
So, I mean, if we change it the way that we've talked about now, where it's talking about the trees, we would be taking out, or it would just say, no clearing of any trees on any property, you know, can be done without written approval from the city, you know, prior to issuance of the grading permit.
Okay, so if we leave this the way it is, and then we add it to the grading permit ordinance, we don't have to have a hearing.
Right.
Where is that statement you just read, is that already in here?
That's on the page 22, that's the highlighted part.
On C though, it sounds like a question more than a statement.
Upon issuance of a grading permit, should the city authorize clearing trees in writing? Well, that's,
The city should.
I know, and it's just saying, except as provided. When any tree sustains damage in form of broken tree trunk, goes through all of that. When tree must be removed or altered to protect existing utilities, and then upon issuance of grading permit, should the city authorize clearing trees in writing. So,
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's saying that the city has to authorize it.
Right.
For the,
Right.
so there's
It's already in
so there's no issuance of a grading permit without the city authorizing clearing of trees in writing.
Right.
That's how I read that, if it's based on your.
Right.
So your thought process was this is approved and then we amend the grading permit to include a tree survey
And then
in regards to the, land just for land developers. But if Joe Smith comes in, hey, I just bought a lot over here, I'm wanting to build a custom home on, I need a grading permit, then the tree survey is.
Until such time as what we discussed earlier, we have a separate, ordinance we add to our permitting ordinance for individual lots, which is a separate thing from what we're doing here in development, so yeah.
But it's not separate yet.
Not yet.
But this is only about subdivision.
Right, I understand, but without something in place for the other, then,
Right.
of course, we haven't even done anything with grading permits, so there's no such thing as.
Right, well, there would be a grading permit for a subdivision development, and then there might be a grading permit for something else that we would need to do.
Well, we can have all of this ready for the next meeting.
Right.
We won't have to have another hearing, but also, our meeting is earlier because of Memorial Day, so there's not a lot of time in between, and I'm trying to take vacation so I don't lose it.
I understand.
But yeah.
But we could put on from now until we have an individual lot in place, if that's what the council wanted to do, we could distinguish on the grading permit itself that the tree mitigation is for the developments, it's not for individual lots. In other words, that it applies to a subdivision.
Yeah, and then we come back with an ordinance for individual lots.
Yes, so that, yeah, this portion, the tree mitigation applies to the development of a subdivision. So that someone comes in and needs a grading permit, if it's not in regards to a subdivision, then there's not a tree mitigation.
They can just clear cut.
They can, there's not a clear, there's not a tree mitigation for an individual building. Now, not to say that you can't go in and we can regulate that, we just gotta regulate it outside the subdivision ordinance, because one lot's not a subdivision.
Sure.
But over the next few weeks, or even if it had to go into the June meeting, we don't have a bunch of lots available somewhere.
Correct.
They're suddenly gonna get bought up, so I don't see that's a problem. I mean,
Even houses being, gonna be built in on Warren Boyd, somebody there sold the house and then divided the lot, just to split it in half, but,
and then we have these two new permits, I guess, yeah, fairly new permits. One on Beasley and one on, okay, well then, y'all just need to decide.
Okay, so what we have here covers development.
Right.
And it's already written in there about the tree stuff on page 22, and we already have the map. So all we would have to come back and do is an individual lot if we chose to do.
Yes. Which we can do in an ordinance.
And we can review the grading, permit wording and stuff, to, add that in there. Change that if you want.
Okay. What is your pleasure?
Well, it sounds like we can just approve this stuff then, right? I mean, it's what, we've talked about it, I think, we can just approve it. So I make a motion that we approve the changing of the map and the changes in the ordinance. 3 times?
I have a motion and a second to approve, and I'm not gonna read all that. The changes, the wording changes to the zoning and development ordinance and correct the drafting errors in the zoning map. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 9, discussion and action. The council will discuss and take action on information received from the city attorney on passing an ordinance to establish a first responder fee on new developments, subdivisions, or permit applications that was tabled at the last council meeting. Does everybody have a copy of that?
Yes.
So I wasn't at the last council meeting, and I have a question about this.
Okay.
Well, basically, the city attorney said we can't do it, so.
Oh,
Have you read them?
Yeah. Never mind.
But it was tabled, so we had to break it.
Yeah.
We didn't have, Crandall has this, but they have a very specific place that they're gonna spend this money to build a new police station. We don't have that. We were looking at more general things, and we can't do that until user fee then. So, what we can do, if we choose to, if we think we need to, we're gonna be coming up to discussing the fee permit schedule that we have.
So, my question is that, would that be on top of our taxes already, or are you just
No.
talking about people out in the county?
No, this is for people building a house.
It would, yeah. So we just looked at how Crandall did it, and they had a specific fee when somebody was coming in building a subdivision. Because, they were gonna be added, a police protection and so forth and so on. They had a certain fee in there. But, and so we kind of modeled something, just a draft, come up with that, and the city attorney was looking over and looking at Crandall's, and they did it for roads and infrastructures and stuff, new roads and all that. But, basically, unless you have some specific use for it, we can't do it, so. We can't do it just to,
In general.
just to do it to new development, to,
Yeah, it seems just a one-time thing when you build it,
Right.
different than your permit fee, but still, it's not proper.
So we can just, and we don't table it, we can just decide we don't really want to do anything.
right, right.
Do we have to make a motion, or we just talk about it and say we don't want to do anything?
Let's have a motion to deny this.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we follow the city attorney's, recommendation and deny this.
No, for sure. I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 10, discussion and action. Council will discuss and take action to consider amending the fee schedule for building permits, variance requests, zoning changes, and plating, and passing ordinance 2026-003 if making any amendments.
I looked at, tried to look at cities that also use Bureau Veritas, for their, plan reviews and inspections, because Bureau Veritas has specific fees. So if they do a plan review, this is how much it's gonna cost. If they do, and if you're building a new home, it's based on square footage. If you're doing pools, accessory buildings, anything like that, it's based on the valuation. So there's two different things you gotta go by. But anyway, I did Crandall and Kaufman, and they figure theirs differently, but the best I could, I put together, this is what Combine charges, this is what Crandall charges, this is what Kaufman charges, and of course they have permits for a lot of stuff that we don't have permits for. We don't do permits for garage sales, we don't do permits for, all those other things. So I just looked at, what, like our preliminary plat, replat, a variance request, the zoning thing is, you can see, on the last page is how I compared, and then we can decide if we want to keep it the same, if we want to change anything, increase, decrease. Kaufman does their plat by acreage. So like, 0 to 5 acres is specific amount. Ours is just, and Crandall's, is just so much, like preliminary plat, $200 plus $10 a lot. So however many lots they're going to be developing, that's what we charge for that. But then there's a separate grading permit fee, also. But these are, that's just to decide if you want to change anything, because that, especially since we cannot do a first responder fee, that's the only place we could maybe get a little extra, income from.
Did you raise anything from what we currently have?
No, this is what we currently have. And
Are
I
you
just
looking
compared
to
it.
raise anything?
That's up to you.
We just,
Okay.
Yeah,
it's just on there to discuss.
yeah.
And I will tell you that, having looked through all those numbers and everything else, I think those are very fair and reasonable things. The permit fees are not a main source of income for us. They're mostly to cover the time that the city secretary and city manager have to deal with new construction and rebuilds and what have you. And I think that our fee schedule, as it sits right now, covers that pretty fairly. I think it's fair to us, I think it's fair to the homeowners. But again, I don't have a vote, that's just my opinion.
What about, the amended plat? Every time they come back in, I got a new map, I got a new plat.
Well, that would be, if the initial plat has already been, final plat done, but they, want to replat because they're adding to it or whatever, that would be under the replat. Which, right now, we don't charge it.
It's a 0.
Oh, okay.
Really,
That was my
yeah,
question.
because we have, let me see, I don't even think that's in our, because right now we have variance request, dividing or splitting land, grading permit, zoning request, annexation, subdivision, either preliminary or final, and general business, industrial, institutional, preliminary. So we don't even have anything for a replat. Or an amended plat. A minor plat is basically what we, like we charge for if anybody's splitting property and it's less than 4 tracts, that's considered a minor plat. And it doesn't have to, I think, go through planning and zoning, or if it's just a meets and bounds survey or something like that. That's what the minor plat is. But we don't have anything that specifies a minor plat.
So I'll take back what I said. Because now, when we have a replat, it has to go to Pan. And Jack and Pan have to work it. And so we're paying for that, and we're not getting compensated for it anyway. So I think that's an area that we need to change.
But even on the grading permit, I don't know if that covers that.
Well, that's the amount Pan told us to charge, $600, which we'll pay.
Just wanna make sure we cover his fees.
And then on the new single family residence, I mean, we still submit to Bureau Veritas for review, right?
Yeah, they have to look over everything before they give them approved to get a permit, yeah.
So the replat and the amended plat, minor plat, maybe shouldn't be 0 if they're gonna be going through the engineer.
And Crandall charges $3 per property for any letters they have to send out to the adjoining, like within 200 feet, if there's a variance request, which I never even thought about. But, sometimes it can be a lot, because ours is 500 feet, not just the required 200 feet, we say within 500 feet, so that includes a lot more people, that letters have to go out to.
Yeah, that didn't seem like enough money.
To write a letter.
It's a pain.
Figure out the addresses, figure out who they go to,
And you have to draft the letter.
have to draft the letter, have to mail it. Yeah.
Okay, so there's 4 areas there for us to consider.
And we don't have to do it tonight, but this was just.
We're doing it, let's do it.
Good, yes.
Yeah.
Good, let's do it. But the replat, the amended plat, and the minor plat, that's something that's kind of gonna depend on what the engineer needs to see and how much time.
And why they're replatting, like why?
Well, usually it's, for instance, in my neighborhood, there's a lot that's been empty forever, and it's a very odd-shaped lot. And when the plat was done, it was shown on the plat that the front of the house would face this, what do you call it?
Pointy direction?
Yeah, because it's like, when you come into the neighborhood, you see it, and this street is Bent Tree, this street's Meandering Lane. So the front of the house has to face that little curve or whatever, not one street or the other, because you didn't want, the back of the house or somebody's, backyard showing, to one neighbor or other across the street. But if somebody did want to come and face it different, they'd have to replat that lot.
Okay.
Okay. So if we needed that, what would you, since you did most of this research, Robin, what would you recommend, like for replatting 200, for minor platting 150, and amended plat 100, and only because, you did most of this research then.
Well, and most of them are a flat amount plus something for each individual lot, so.
What does Coffin charge for replatting?
What is what?
Coffin charge for replat?
$300 plus $10 a lot.
Where am I missing?
It's on the first side.
Oh, I gotcha. Thank you.
I recommend that we go, in all 4 of those categories, we just go with Crandall's. It's easy.
Crandall's is more than what they thought than our preliminary plats and final plats.
True.
So if we went with what Crandall did, the replat would be more than the original plat.
Unless you disagree.
So maybe, we do $200.
200 for replat, 150 for
I'd say
amended, and
200
100 for minor.
200 for all 3 of them, make it easy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
and not anything extra per lot, just like.
And I like the letter fee too, whatever letter we have to
$3
send out.
per property.
I mean, is it a form letter, like when you write one, do you just print it out 30 times and put different addresses on it? Or is it
yes,
like-
I'll send the same letter to however many people I need,
Okay,
but I'll
yeah,
have to
the
change.
$3 seems, yeah.
You know,
How much you have to change, a lot.
well, I'll have to, legal descriptions.
Okay,
Like, you know, whatever the property is, and the legal description and stuff, but I print that same one, too.
yeah, okay. All right, yeah, I think, sounds pretty
Okay, so
reasonable.
do we want to have a per lot charge on these replats and amended plats and minor plats?
Oh, I see what you mean, because it could be if it's a subdivision,
Yeah, I'd say we follow those $15.
$10 lot. Oh, 15 one and the other.
I say we use the same, what Crandall did.
15,
Okay.
plus 15 per lot.
Yep.
Okay. Then I will need a motion to change our current permitting fees to, for replat, amended plat, minor plat to $200 plus $15 per lot, and charge a $3 per property fee for letters.
And pass that ordinance to make those changes.
Okay, I make a motion that we change the replat fee from 0 to 200, the amended plat from 0 to 200, the minor plat from 0 to 200, charge $3 per property owner letters, and, and then, and then add $15 a lot for each of those, replat, amended plat, and minor plat. And I'm also making a motion to pass the ordinance number 2026-003.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pass ordinance number 2026-003, amending our permit fee schedule. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 11, discussion and action. The council will discuss the item that was tabled at the March meeting regarding development of a baseline development agreement. We have had more conversations with the attorneys.
Put in the conversation email that I had with the attorney. They're just not really unclear on what it is we're wanting. And so I tried to tell them, we just want a template that we can start with, that if the developer comes in, then we can, you know, negotiate from there. Is there anything that we want? You know, we want a park. Do we want whatever? Do we, if you know, if it's in the ETJ, do we want to ask them, will they, you know, to annex, in the city, or, you know, but, that's still kind of up in the air. I haven't gotten anything back from the city attorney on that, so.
So we're still waiting, basically.
Yeah. And I hope they
So
will
we
do
table it again?
a basic residential subdivision development.
I make a motion that we table item number 11, regarding the baseline development agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table action on the baseline development agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, discussion and action. The council will take action to schedule a special meeting for May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to canvass the May 2nd, 2026 general election votes and swear in new council members.
But we can't do it before the 11th, and it has to be done by the 13th. So, that leaves us the 12th, and I thought, okay, well, planning and zoning's on the 12th, so we could do it right before planning and zoning, but of course, everything's moved up a week, so that has like, what, 1 or 2 weeks in between now and planning and zoning, so I don't even know if planning and zoning will have a meeting, but that's the days that we have to do it.
So really, we have to do it on the 12th, pretty much.
I mean, we could do it earlier if you wanted to, than 6, but I was just thinking that, yeah. planning and zoning
What time?
maybe meeting anyway, 6 o'clock.
Everybody makes 6 o'clock?
I think last year we did 6:15, yes.
I think 6 is great.
Start. Yes, sir. Okay. Again, I will need a motion.
I make a motion that we set a meeting, a special meeting, to canvass the vote, on May the 12th at 6 o'clock, 6 P.M.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to schedule a special meeting on May 12th at 6 P.M. All in favor?
Aye.
And now, to the special time.
I make another motion that we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned at 8:06.